After politely asking my neighbor to keep her guests from blocking my driveway during her parties, she laughed and said, "Just park somewhere else." The next morning, I missed an important appointment. I whispered, "Hope they like walking." Her face went white when every car got towed. I live in a neighborhood outside Austin, Texas. It's usually pretty quiet. I've been here for over 12 years. I work from home most of the week, and when I need to go into town, I rely on being able to get in and out of my driveway. Nothing fancy, nothing special. Just want to be able to use the house I pay taxes on. My neighbor across the street moved in about a year ago. Let's call her Sarah. Early 30s, single, loud, always dressed like she's about to walk into a bar. She hosts these parties, often. Not every weekend, but close. It started small, then turned into something way bigger over time. Sometimes there'd be music until 2 a.m., cars lined down the whole street, and people standing around on lawns with red Solo cups like it was college again. At first, I just ignored it. I don't like confrontation. I figured she'd slow down once the new house excitement wore off. She didn't. It got worse. The big issue wasn't even the noise. It was the parking. People parked anywhere they could fit, and that meant a lot of them just blocked my driveway like it was a public sidewalk. Now, I'm not the call the cops type. I'm patient. I get it. People are trying to have a good time. But when I started having to plan my errands around Sarah's parties, that's when I got annoyed. One time I had groceries in the trunk and couldn't pull in. I had to park down the block and haul 10 bags by hand. So I decided to talk to her directly. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't rude. It was a Friday around 6 p.m. She was already setting up coolers and lights in her backyard. I walked over while she was hanging string lights and asked, "Hey Sarah, just a quick favor. Can you let your guests know not to park in front of my driveway? It's been getting blocked a lot lately." She didn't even pretend to think about it. She laughed, not nervously, like a full, dismissive I don't care kind of laugh. Then she said, "Oh my God, it's just a party. You can park somewhere else for one night." I blinked. I said, "It's not just one night. And it's not just about parking. I've missed appointments. I've had to leave my own car down the block. It's not a small thing." She just kept smiling, then shrugged and said, "Whatever. I'm not a cop. If someone parks there, it's not my fault." I stared at her for a second, said okay, and walked back to my house. I was fuming, but I didn't show it. I closed my door, sat on the couch, and thought about everything. The next morning, I was supposed to drive into downtown Austin for a client meeting. Something important. I had it on the books for weeks. I woke up early, got dressed, and looked out the front window. And of course, blocked. Some random blue SUV was parked directly across the bottom of my driveway. No note. No plates I recognized. I tried knocking at Sarah's door, no answer. Music equipment was still out in her yard. I even tried a couple houses to see if anyone knew who it belonged to. Nothing. I called the client, said I'd be late, ended up missing the meeting altogether. That was it. I'd had enough. That night, I started digging into the local city ordinances. I found out exactly what the rules were. If someone is blocking your driveway in Austin, you have the right to call a towing company and have them remove the vehicle. Doesn't matter if it's a party. Doesn't matter if it's just one night. Blocked driveway equals towable. So I made a few calls. Not to the police, not to Sarah, straight to towing companies. I asked questions. What info do you need? Can I call same night? Do I have to wait? Turns out if I call while the car is still blocking me, they'll come out within 45 minutes. No problem. The next Friday rolled around. Another party. More cars. More music. I stayed up, lights off, watching from my window. Around 10 p.m., 3 cars pulled up. 1 silver sedan, 1 black pickup, and 1 red compact. The sedan blocked me in. The same exact way as before. Just parked right across my driveway, nose practically kissing my garage door. I waited an hour. Didn't say a word. Didn't go outside. At 11:15, I made the call. Yeah, my driveway's blocked again. Private property, yes. I have photos. By midnight, a flatbed showed up. Loud beeping, chains rattling. The sedan went first. Then the guy took a quick lap and saw the pickup was just slightly overlapping my driveway. He shrugged and said, "That's close enough." Towed that one too. Then he called a second truck. 2 more cars from the street went with them. For total that night, I had every right to. I didn't go outside. I didn't gloat. I just turned off the porch light and went to bed. Next morning, that was something else. Sarah was screaming on her phone outside, pacing her lawn in slippers. 3 of her guests were with her, clearly pissed. One guy was waving his arms, yelling something about, "This is damn," and I was barely in front of it. She came storming up to my door like she was about to knock it down. I opened it before she could. "You called a tow truck?" I said. "You said it wasn't your fault, so I made it mine." Her face turned bright red. "You're unbelievable," I replied. "I gave you every chance. I asked nicely. I got ignored. I missed an important meeting. This isn't a game." She turned around without saying another word. I watched her go, heart racing. So after that first towing night, I figured the message had been delivered. I was wrong. The next couple of weeks were quiet. No big parties. No strange cars. I thought maybe Sarah had learned her lesson and decided to move on. Maybe even learned to respect a boundary or two. I was giving her the benefit of the doubt, which in hindsight was a mistake. 3 Fridays later, I came home from the grocery store and noticed something weird. There were orange cones lined up in front of my driveway. Not directly blocking it, but just enough on either side to make it awkward to pull in without weaving. At first I thought it was the city. I checked around for any work notices or road markings. Nothing. So I moved the cones aside and parked like normal. The next morning, they were back. So I moved them again. On the 3rd morning, they weren't just back. They were duct taped together, forming a barrier across the bottom of my driveway like it was some kind of do not enter zone. That was it. I knocked on Sarah's door. She answered this time, arms crossed, already smirking like she'd been waiting for me. "What now?" she said. "Did you put cones in front of my driveway?" She raised an eyebrow and said, "It's a public street. I can put cones where I want." I said, "Not if you're trying to stop me from using my driveway. That's harassment." She shrugged, like she didn't care. I pulled out my phone and showed her photos. "You've been caught doing this 3 times now. If you want to keep pushing, I'll take this to the city." She scoffed and said, "Go ahead. See if I care." So I did. I submitted a report to the city's non-emergency code enforcement office. Included all the photos. They responded quickly and sent someone out the following week. The cones disappeared. I thought, again, maybe that was the end. Nope. Sarah stopped having big parties, but she started having smaller get-togethers more often. Just 5 to 10 people at a time. And somehow, even with that few people, her guests still managed to accidentally block me in at least twice. But then the twist came. I got a letter in the mail from the homeowners association. It said they had received a complaint about me creating a nuisance for neighbors by harassing guests and towing without notice. I was stunned. I'm not even technically part of the HOA. They cover parts of the neighborhood, but my street is outside their jurisdiction. But guess who used to be on the HOA board at her old place? Yep, Sarah. She wasn't just fighting back, she was trying to smear me. I called the number on the letter, explained everything, and sent them all my photos, logs, and the record of my call to the city. They backed off. But now I knew this wasn't just about parties anymore. It was personal. Next thing I know, someone egged my car. Right on the windshield and hood. Happened in the middle of the night. I called the cops and filed a report. No cameras, no witnesses. Then it happened again. Twice. That's when I started recording everything. I installed a Ring doorbell, floodlight cams, and dash cam in my car. I bought a $30 logbook and started keeping track of every interaction every time a car even slightly blocked my driveway. And then one night, I got the footage. It was 2:38 a.m. A figure walked across my lawn in a hoodie holding something in both hands. Eggs? They chucked 3 at my car. Then 1 directly at my door. But here's the kicker, it wasn't Sarah. It was a guy I'd never seen before. Mid-30s, long hair, wearing a black hoodie with a giant Texas Longhorns logo on the back. The next morning, I replayed the video 5 times, looking for clues. Later that weekend, I saw him. In Sarah's driveway. Leaning against her fence with a drink in hand. Turns out she had a new boyfriend. And I guess he wanted in on the drama. So now it wasn't just Sarah. I had backup villains. And that's where things started spiraling. After catching Sarah's boyfriend egging my car on camera, I knew things were headed into uglier territory. I didn't say anything right away. I wanted to see where this was going. I saved the footage, backed it up to 2 hard drives and the cloud. Then I filed another police report, this time with video evidence. The officer said they'd look into it, which we all know means don't hold your breath. But I wasn't playing checkers. I was playing the long game. Here's where it got weird. About 2 weeks later, I got home from work around 6:30 p.m. and saw a big white sticker on my front door. Notice of code violation, grass over 12 inches, except my lawn had been mowed 3 days earlier. I walked the front yard in disbelief. Everything was trimmed. Not even a single patch looked overgrown. The sticker was clean and fresh, though. Almost too fresh. I peeled it off carefully and checked the bottom. No city seal. Just a fake logo and some gibberish phone number. Sarah was faking violation notices now. I didn't even confront her. I just walked back inside, grabbed a Sharpie, and wrote a new sign. I taped it to her door. Whoever left the fake code sticker, try harder. Your lies are as weak as your parking game. The sign was gone within an hour. That night, I heard voices outside, laughing, mocking. I looked out and saw Sarah, her boyfriend, and a couple of her regular guests standing at the edge of my lawn, drinks in hand, just watching my house like creeps. I didn't flinch, just closed the blinds and wrote everything down in the logbook. Time, date, people present. Here's where the twist kicks in. About a week later, a guy in a brown UPS uniform shows up to deliver a box. He rings the doorbell, hands me the package, then pauses. You the guy at 114? Yeah. You got someone real pissed at you, huh? I blinked. What do you mean? He chuckled. I've been delivering random junk to this address for days. All kinds of crap, flyers, fake pizza orders, even a case of adult diapers. Some prank stuff, but it's constant. Figured I'd let you know. My stomach dropped. I checked the name on the box. It said Ronald McDumba, 114 Oak Shadow Lane. Yeah. Real mature. Inside the box, 1 flip-flop, 3 rubber ducks, and a note that said, block this. It was official. I was being harassed. Not just in person. Online. By mail. Probably through delivery apps too. I started digging. I opened up Nextdoor, the neighborhood app, and searched my name. There it was. Sarah, or someone close to her, had posted anonymously in the local group claiming I was an unstable neighbor with anger issues and that I had threatened women and children. The post was vague enough to avoid direct slander but just detailed enough to poison people against me. The comments? People chiming in with stories of that guy who's always staring out his window and he called the cops on a birthday party once. Lies, all of it. But the damage was spreading. I took screenshots. Saved everything. But now I knew I couldn't just play defense anymore. That weekend I made some calls. One of my cousins works for a security company. I got a quote on installing a 4K outdoor surveillance system with night vision and motion-triggered alerts. Not cheap, but worth it. Then I called a lawyer. I explained everything: photos, videos, fake notices, public defamation, property harassment. He listened, took notes, then said document everything for another 30 days. Then we'll file. That was the first time I felt hope in weeks. But of course, things weren't done getting worse. The very next day, I got a visit from animal control. Why? Because someone reported me for animal neglect. Said I had a malnourished dog chained in the backyard. I don't even own a dog. The officer was polite, confused, and clearly knew it was bogus. But it still went on file. Just one more drip in the slow, steady campaign to ruin me. That night, as I walked out to check the mail, I saw Sarah standing in her driveway. She had a wine glass in hand and a smug little smile on her face. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. The message was clear: this isn't over. But she didn't know something I did. I had my own plan now. After animal control showed up, I realized this wasn't going to stop on its own. I was being harassed from every angle. Driveway blocked, car egged, mail tampered with, online lies, fake violations, now fake reports to the city. I wasn't innocent either. I kept quiet, sure, but I was building my own quiet war. Security footage, legal logs, multiple reports. I was stacking bricks. I just hadn't thrown them yet. That changed fast. One Friday afternoon, right before another one of Sarah's small gatherings, I noticed two cars idling near the curb. Doors opened. Out came folding chairs, speakers, and drink coolers. I checked the clock. 4:52 p.m. Here we go again. By 7 p.m., her backyard was filled with people. Probably 20 or more. Cars lined the block. And yes, my driveway? Blocked again. A gray Dodge parked at an angle so tight I couldn't even back out if I tried. I stood there for a second, staring at the car. Then I whispered to myself, hope they like walking. This time, I didn't just call one towing company, I called 3. I'd built a list after all this crap started. Each of them sent a truck. The first arrived in under 30 minutes. The second came just after. I showed them the footage from my camera, showed them the edge of the driveway clearly marked, and nodded. Tow, tow, tow. 5 cars gone in under 90 minutes. But I didn't stop there. I walked across the street and dropped envelopes in 3 different mailboxes. Inside was a printed photo of their car blocking my driveway. A note that said, your car was towed. Talk to Sarah. She was warned. By 10 p.m., guests started leaving. And that's when hell broke loose. A woman in heels came stomping down the street yelling, where the hell is my car? Another guy followed her, holding his phone up. It says it was towed. Dude. My kid's car seat was in there. People crowded Sarah's lawn. I stayed behind my blinds, lights off, listening to the chaos. Sarah came out, totally confused. She looked around and started yelling back, saying, I don't know. Maybe someone called it in. Then she looked toward my house, and her face went white. She knew. I didn't move. I didn't open the door. I let it all unfold. Her guests were pissed. One guy started yelling at her so loud I could hear every word. You said it was fine to park there. Why didn't you tell us this could happen? This is your fault. Some left on foot. Some waited for Ubers. Others called tow yards to figure out where their cars had gone. Sarah? She stood on her lawn, humiliated, angry, alone. And then came the police. Someone, probably one of the angry guests, had called them to report harassment. When the officers knocked on my door, I was ready. I had documents, screenshots, dates, times, videos. They took one look at my logs and footage and said, sir, you've done everything by the book. When they walked over to Sarah's side, she started crying. I couldn't hear what was said, but her hands were waving in the air and the officer kept shaking his head. Eventually, the cops left. But the damage was done. You'd think that was the end, right? Not yet. The next morning, I found one last surprise. Spray paint. Someone had tagged the words Petty Damn across my garage door in sloppy red paint. That was it. No more games. I sent the footage directly to the police and my lawyer. The footage showed Sarah's boyfriend, clear as day, crossing the street at 2 a.m. with a can in his hand. They arrested him later that week for vandalism and trespassing. Sarah tried to deny it. Tried to say it wasn't him. But it didn't matter. The video showed it all. It went to court. I showed every piece of my log, every screenshot, every violation. She had no defense. The final twist? Turns out Sarah had lied on some of her rental documents. Claimed the house was single occupant. Turns out she wasn't even supposed to be hosting large events under her lease. Her landlord found out after the arrest and evicted her. Gone. Just like that. As for me, I had to repaint my garage and clean eggs off my car more than once. I lost sleep. Missed work. Probably got a few more gray hairs than I should have. And maybe I did get too invested. Maybe I should have walked away sooner, let it go. But in the end, I stood my ground. She laughed at me when I asked nicely. Now she's walking.